beep, 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 beep. Ooh.
Oh, that was a good one.
Oh, jeez.
And here we are at the first pit stop on Alan's journey through the stars.
Season 1, Episode 4 of Enterprise.
Strange New World.
Yep, Strange New World. This is the first time I wanted to talk about Enterprise. I just started watching it, and it's a very weird episode. Basically, the crew of the Enterprise finds a new M-class planet.
Yeah, Minshara-class planet.
Minshara-class planet. I finally learned what that means. And they go down, and they're going to do a bunch of tests, scout it out a bit.
Yeah.
And the crew says, well, can we stay overnight? And the captain says, sure.
Why not?
Why not?
But they start regretting it immediately.
Well, not immediately. They're sitting around a campfire, and they're telling ghost stories.
Yeah, as we just heard.
Yeah.
The horrible story of beep, beep, beep.
Yeah. And it's before too much longer that a storm picks up.
Yeah.
And it floods the air with hallucinogenic pollen spores. And before long, everyone is seeing people out in the woods.
In actually one of the creepier moments.
Yeah.
They didn't cheese it up. Just seeing flashes of somebody walking through a tree line when
freaky.
When you know you're alone on a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just ooh, I didn't want to see that.
And then the show kind of devolves into them thinking they're rock people and stuff like that. And things get way out of hand.
It gets way out of hand. They take shelter in a cave.
Yeah.
And then they start hearing echoing voices, and then this is before they know it's hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
And one of the crewmen runs off into the storm because he just can't handle it anymore, and gets transported back to Enterprise. And
with leaves in his body.
Leaves and twigs and sticks in his body because the transporter technology isn't quite there yet.
It's better with solid objects and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
non-living things, but
he ends up looking like some sort of ent as he comes through.
Yeah.
And very, very strange scenes in this. Like we'll get more to the overall arc of it, but
yeah.
The idea that the Doctor made a bad call. That scene I particularly liked. I love Peter Billingsley in Enterprise.
Yeah.
Dr. Phlox is one of my favorite characters. Mainly because it's noticeable almost immediately he gives up on the kind of schmaltzy gimmick of the weird accent in the pilot.
Yeah.
Like it's, Captain, it's almost like those guys from Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
We need your help. No, you don't. But that disappears, and he just turns into a great actor.
A good doctor.
A good doctor. Maybe not the best one, but he's coming to grips with. This is new to him too. He's used to being a part of this collective medical exchange program. He's never been a frontier doctor.
No.
So for him, this is new territory, and it strikes him hard in the core that he might lose a patient out here. The first patient he has.
There's not a whole lot of people on the Enterprise, crew-wise. There's like
85 people.
Yeah. So each one is very crucial.
Oh yeah, everyone on that ship isn't useless, except for the chef. But, even he has his place.
Yeah.
You got to feed the crew somehow. But, no, and then after they figure out this pollen is infecting them, and it has a psychotropic effect, hallucinogens and such are in there, and it plays on anxiety, paranoia, and senses of just, it gets you basically to your survival instinct.
Yeah.
And that's where this episode gets fun. When they're in the cave, I like those scenes the best because T'Pol really shines in my mind.
Yeah, she does.
This is an episode where you could have really weakened her, but she remained strong. What did you think about the whole overall arc?
Well, I mainly chose this episode because of the scene that we led in with. It's a ghost story, And I think that's something that Star Trek doesn't really touch on because it's the age of ultimate science.
Yeah, we ask these questions to solve the problems of why are you afraid of something in the dark.
Yeah, and in later shows, the Star Trek is often portrayed as like a Navy style organization, but then again, you look at like maritime folklore.
There's a whole bunch of stories like that.
It's rife with ghost stories.
In fact, not just ghost stories, monsters, all
monsters.
sorts of things. They have sea spirits, and they believe in luck and such more than most people would.
Yeah.
So to have that story, and there's the one thing that I'll note about this episode, is it comes very early in the arc of any Star Trek show.
Well, it's
most of the time it doesn't hit till like season 3 or later until they start saying, all right, let's play around a little bit.
in fact, if I remember correctly, it's only mentioned things like ghosts, stuff like that. Is only really mentioned maybe a handful of times throughout the entirety of this every series.
I think you can pretty much guarantee you get one kind of ghosty episode per series in Star Trek. And for them to unleash it season 1, episode 4 was refreshing. But I think it speaks to the tone of Enterprise is that this is all still new. It's scary being out there. It really is.
Yeah.
Even the opening exchanges of the crew in the early parts of the episode where they're pulling up to this planet and they're like, the captain would have mentioned if we were going to a planet like this.
There's
like,
some trepidation.
Yeah, there's hesitation and there's questions in the crewmen's minds. And it strikes the tone. Like that's why I enjoyed that you picked this episode because it hits a lot of the notes that I love about Enterprise. Small stories and very character driven, and it speaks to the tone of the show more than if it happened on Next Generation. They don't go camping in Next Generation. They're not so stressed out. Like they have holodecks and stuff.
Yeah.
These guys have to actually land on a planet to stretch their legs and breathe fresh air. So there's tones of that, and I absolutely loved this episode. It's not the best by any means of the ghosty episodes.
But I think it really touches on something that you and I experience. This crew is actually very close to us. By the time that warp flight is available in the Star Trek universe, you and I might still be alive.
Well, yeah, we'll be about 70.
80.
Yeah, 70, 80.
70, 80.
But yeah, it's one of those things. You're gonna know these people of this generation in a way.
In a way, yeah.
If the Star Trek universe comes true, if science evolves at that rate, which it actually is seeming very close to, but we'll leave that for another episode.
I just like a good ghost story, that's all.
A great ghost story too.
And it was actually really good. We made light of it with the strange edit at the.
What do you mean strange? I didn't edit nothing. that's verbatim copy of the show. No, but continue.
But the story was basically, is it Mayweather? Is his name?
Yeah, Travis Mayweather.
Travis Mayweather has a lot of experience traveling the stars, and
he's a boomer.
He's a boomer, like you said.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you pick up in your travels are stories. And he was telling the crew around the campfire about this one time that he was on a ship, and they heard a distress call, and it was a life pod, like an escape pod or something like that.
Yeah.
It was going beep, 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 and they picked it up,
and they saw it was from like 60. It'd been out there for 60 years.
It's been cruising along space for 60 years. They bring it in, and
they can't open it up.
They can't open it up, but they hear knocking on the inside.
When they knock, there's a response knock.
Yeah.
And they finally takes them hours to cut through the hull.
Yeah, they got to cut right through it. And when they open it up, no one's inside.
Yeah.
And the guy who cut it open, who did the whole technical thing, started acting strangely after a few days. There was a near disaster. And
he overloaded the impulse engines.
Yeah. And that guy, he climbed into another escape pod.
And jettisoned himself
out. And some some.
Well, they couldn't. They couldn't catch the pod because the impulse
pod.
engines were down.
Yeah, but some people say if you listen real close in deep space, you can still hear that same distress call. Beep, 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 beep.
Needed one more beep.
Yeah.
Oh, but that was a good one.
Oh, yeah. I guess that about wraps this video up. It was just a fun little episode.
Yeah, and there's more to come. I think the first season of Enterprise is full of possible episodes to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're gonna move right on to the next batch because we're kind of getting into the swing of things. I know there's been a little bit of a lull, mainly because Aaron's an idiot. No, we've had computer problems, but we're back on track. So hopefully that means as Alan plows through Enterprise, we can continue to make sure that you guys
Live long and prosper.
and also track yourself.
Before you live long and prosper.
You're the word.